Hi everyone, I'm Anne-Marie from brambleberry.com, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make this cactus bloom cold process soap project. Now this is a really fun project and it does teach you some techniques along the way. One, how to, of course, do a little piping, make some soap frosting, and two, how to get this amazing structural, textural, domed look. So keep watching for all those tips. This is a great beginner-friendly project because it's, well, one color, there's no swirls, there's no layering, and this beautiful frosting tip top, that's optional. So for this project, we are making things really easy, and we're going to be using the Brambleberry Quick Mix, which is the Lots of Lather Quick Mix. This Quick Mix was designed specifically for, yes, lots of lather. It's a perfect balance of kind of moisturizing and conditioning oils, as well as those hard oils that give you lots of lather, lots of bubbles, and the bubbles stick around, which is great. Also, these little guys are made with a frosting tip. And the thing to notice about the frosting tip is that it has like the prongs on it. So make sure when you're getting a frosting tip, if you want it to come out looking like flowers, you get the kind that has little prongs on it. Then we're using four different brambleberry additives. We're using these bursting beads. These bursting beads are really cute. They're just a tiny little decorative topper. Totally optional. I like them though, they add a little texture. Poppy seeds for inside the soap. You'll notice the poppy seeds really just add to the interest and texture in the soap. In the shower, you'll notice that the poppy seeds, you don't really feel them all that much. They do provide just a tiny little bit of kind of exfoliation or texture in the shower. And the two colorants are the Brambleberry Dark Green Mica and the Brambleberry Desert Rose Mica. These are both gorgeous pastel colors that really do well in cold process soap. Just for fun, I'm also adding a little agave extract for that skin loving properties. The fragrance we've chosen is one of Brambleberry's best performing fragrances. It is our Emerald Agave, which is one of kind of those fantasy fragrances where you're like, yeah, but what does an emerald smell like? And also, okay, I know what an agave root is, but like, what does that smell like? This, I would say, is a very warm garden type scent. So think ozone, so warm breezes in Arizona, a little bit of coconut husk in there, but not enough to discolor. Definitely beautiful notes of like sea moss, gorgeous notes that you'd be really thinking of a warm desert type of fragrance. And for this project, again, beginner friendly project, it gives a lot of time to work with the fragrance. It doesn't accelerate, trace, or anything like that. And finally, I love using sodium lactate in all of my bars. It helps the bars to unmold more quickly because it is a type of salt. You put it into the lye water. It is optional. So if you're a newbie or a beginner watching this and thinking, I really don't want to add that into my repertoire yet, it is optional. Okay, and now it is time for literally the most important part of the soap making process. We are suiting up for safety. Why is that? Our lye has a pH that is over 14. It will burn your eyes if you end up getting it in your eyes. And if you get it on your skin is really good at keeping stuff out, and it will still really itch and irritate your skin. I am wearing closed-toed shoes. I have my long pants on. You'll notice I'm wearing long sleeves, and kids and pets are not in this area, and they won't be for a solid 45 minutes because this project, from start to finish, when you start weighing stuff out and making it, it's about a 45-minute project. Additionally, I'm in a really well-ventilated area. These lye fumes, when you mix them, can get just a little bit there. So some people do soap in with masks. I tend just to be in a well-ventilated area. Now that we're all ready to go, next most important thing, preparation. Every single thing I need is literally right here. I've pre-measured my colorants and mixed them in just a little bit of lightweight oil. My sodium lactate has already been added to my lye water. I have my fragrance, I have my extract, everything here. And now let's get started making soap. If you are a beginner and you're just joining me and you're like, hey, but how did you do that lye? Tell me more about that. All the way back at the beginning of our channel here, we do have an all about lye safety, how to mix lye safely, all of that. So be sure and look at that before you get started on your soap making journey, even though this is a beginner friendly recipe. First things first, I have added my lye water to my melted oils. I'm about 95 degrees for my lye water and about 110, 105 for my oils. Now I'm gently going to stick blend. Typically with two-part projects, I don't add the fragrance to the second part. In this case, I happen to know the Emerald Agave works so well that I'm gonna add it to the entire batch. I'm adding this entire bottle, which is 1.75, and I'm just gonna stir with my stick blender because even though it is a really well-performing fragrance, having a bunch of undiluted fragrance oil sitting on top of your soap is never a good idea. Turning on the stick blender very quickly, just to pulse it, get all that fragrance in. I am going to add this to my other container, about 300 milliliters. And I'm gonna do one extra optional step. I'm gonna add titanium dioxide to my entire batch just to really ensure I get a full, totally pastel color, totally optional. You don't have to do it at all. So again, if you're kind of brand new to soaping and you're trying to minimize how many ingredients you have, this is optional. Now I'm just gonna pour off about 300 milliliters, and this is more a pink than you're going to need. So keep that in mind. I ended up definitely having more pink than I needed, but I did want this to be enough volume that I could stick my stick blender back in there and really get it to thicken up if I needed. Next, we're gonna be adding all of the green into this main one, and we're adding all of our diluted pink into here. And then the poppy seeds are kind of a choose your own adventure. It's what you see is what you get. So I'm gonna start with 2 teaspoons and see how I feel about that. Is it too much? Is it too little? And since I've made this project quite a few times, it is just kind of the right amount, actually, 2 teaspoons, but that's my personal preference. I like the poppy seeds to just add to the entire design, but not take over the entire design. So 2 to 4 teaspoons is kind of your sweet spot for this. So while we wait for this to kind of harden up, because it is going to need to thicken up quite a lot, I'm going to add my extract into the whole entirety of this main batch. And this is that agave extract that's in fractionated coconut oil. And just whisk it in. I could stick blend it in too. And then I'm going to take my whisk and I'm just going to whisk in my beautiful rose color. Looks nice. I am going to have to be stick blending this later to get this to actually pipe and stay around. And now I'm going to put this off to the side, pull in my mold into frame, and I'm going to then stick my stick blender in here and just get this thing as gloopy as possible. Right now we have a beautiful medium trace, so this is gorgeous. It's still very workable, very fluid. It's just beautiful. Since this is pretty thick, at this point, if I'm stick blending and I haven't burped my stick blender, so I got a bunch of air trapped under the stick blender, we will end up blending in bubbles that will not rise to the surface. Just an aesthetic thing, not a big deal, but something to keep in mind. And now we are nice and thick. So I'm gonna take my soap and just pour it into the mold. You can see how gorgeous that is. It's still, even though it's so thick, it still has great pourability. And remember, we make these soaps pretty high and tall. So even though this looks pretty full, we are going to be doing some sculpting here. So that way the soap will not end up overflowing. This looks like it's staying up pretty well. One thing to keep in mind is if you're soaping in a hot climate, say you're in Georgia in the summer and you're in your shop and you don't have any air conditioning, this process might take longer because the hot soap, the warm hot soap, just doesn't stay up as well. So something to keep in mind. Okay, so now I'm just going to do my typical kind of mounding process where I just mound in the middle and then smooth that surface at the end. And since manipulating wet soap is so fun to do, this is not a chore. This actually is super fun. And then I'm just gonna try and keep this working so I can just mound smoothly. All right, now that we have our mound, I am going to turn my eyes and my gaze to this beautiful pink soap. So pink soap is really nice and thick as well. We have got like, it's not soap on a stick by any means, but it is definitely nice and thick and it is ready to be put into the piping bag. So I'm using a smaller spatula to kind of have a little bit more precision, and you can see it's going in nicely, and our little makeshift cap down at the bottom is blocking any of the rose from coming out. And now I'm just gonna fill this up because what I do with this, it makes more roses than we need. I just pipe them onto either a paper towel or if you have it, wax or parchment paper. So that way you have roses left for another project, because you can always put this on another project. These don't have to be piped fresh. We take our piping bag, and if you've never done piping before, you want to take your right hand all the way around and then pull this out. And I like to do just one on, I'm just gonna do it right here because I did not grab a paper towel, but I like to do just one sample just to see, is that staying? And you know what? It is staying. I did a nice job getting a very thick trace. So here we go. First one. Ooh, they're so cute. And remember, how close you place your cactus flowers determines the width of the bars that you'll be cutting. So if you don't want really beefy bars, you definitely want to be placing these cactus flowers as close as possible and making them just a little bit smaller. If you love a beefy bar, then give yourself some good space like I did in the one that I'm going to show you in just a minute, or space them really closely to get more bars out. And now the final touch is just sprinkling some of our bursting beads on top for a little bit of interest. And then I'm gonna force gel phase. And the way I'm gonna force gel phase is I'm gonna cover this with a box to keep in all of my heat. I'm gonna put this on a heating pad and I'm gonna leave it there for about 6 to 8 hours on the heating pad just to force a very full gel phase. That really helps with the unmolding. It helps with the color. It helps with how glossy the soap is as well. And final touch, I'm gonna spritz with some 99% rubbing alcohol to help prevent soda ash. And all this rubbing alcohol does is it really just helps to prevent the air from coming into contact with the soap, because soda ash is really just sodium carbonate coming up through the soap when it comes into contact with air, which is kind of annoying. Doesn't hurt anything, but this does help to prevent it, as does this really thick trace and the recipe we're using. Additionally, the gel phase is going to help prevent soda ash as well. All right, now we're ready to force gel phase. This soap was made 48 hours ago and it is ready to unmold. Part of the reason it's ready to unmold is we did force a gel phase in here, and there is sodium lactate in it, and it was poured at a pretty thick trace. And so all of those combinations plus the base recipe help it come out of the mold faster. So first thing I want to point out is this is gorgeous. The color is uniform. It is beautiful. I love how the frosting looks. The bursting beads are gorgeous. And now we're going to cut. So one of the things to remember is if you're using like one of those wire multi-bar cutters, they will drag the poppy seeds down, leaving you with more kind of drag marks. So keep that in mind. These do make kind of a more beefy bar, so be thinking about that also when you're doing your spacing, when you're doing the frosting. I love how this looks. It is so simple. It is so gorgeous. Oh, it smells so good. Emerald agave is such a nice fragrance. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up below. I would love to hear what you'd like me to make for you next time. So also tell me that in the comments, and be sure to join our community. Follow us on all the socials at Brambleberry, and yum. Be sure and subscribe to this channel if you're not already subscribed so you get notified each and every time we release a new video. Until next time, happy soaping.